Hey guys, what is up? This is Stephanie, aka the Limitless Babe, reminding you today and every day that you are limitless. So today I want to talk about a heavy topic, but an important and necessary topic to discuss. And I apologize in advance if it sounds a little muffled. It's raining outside, so you might hear a little bit of that in the background. Um, but today I want to talk about what's been going on in Iran and the struggle that the women of Iran have been dealing with. So, what I find most shocking about this entire situation, and if you don't know, don't worry, I'm going to fill you in. But what I find the most troubling is the fact that if I didn't know someone who had been born there, who had family there, who was close to this topic, I would have never heard about it. I would have never even known that this was going on. But one of the most beautiful, amazing souls that I've had the great pleasure of meeting, and my amazing mentor, Shahrzad Parandeh, went on an interview with the magnetic woman, Joyce, another amazing powerhouse woman who is here to inspire and motivate and empower other women. They got together and they made a podcast on her show and talked about what's been going on. And it's just startling. It's jaw-dropping. And I wanted to bring light to this topic so that other people could know, because again, if I didn't know someone who had family there and who was born there, would I even know that this was going on? And this is so much more than just a national issue for the Iranian people. This is a global issue for women. And I think that it's really important that more people know about what's going on. And yeah, I'm going to kind of go back and forth with clips. I'm going to obviously link the podcast below so that you guys can listen to it in its entirety, which I think is a super valuable resource to listen to. But at the same time, I'm also going to play clips here for you guys so that you can get kind of the general gist of what's been going on. So without further ado, I'm going to play the first clip, which is going to be Joyce talking about what exactly is happening in Iran right now. So hang tight.
And for those of you who are not aware, it's been about 2 weeks now?
Over 3 weeks.
3 weeks, yeah. So there was a young woman in Iran. If you're not aware, in Iran, it is law that women have to have their heads covered with a hijab. There's a young woman and her hair was showing through her hijab. The morality police took her into custody. They said she experienced a heart attack while she was in custody. It is quite clear that they beat her to death. She was 22 years old. And women in the country of Iran have been living under this law, oppression of what they can and can't wear and do in public for decades now. And what we've been seeing in the last 3.5 weeks is a massive call to arms, if you will, backlash, protesting of women saying, no more. We will not be oppressed. We will not be beaten for not complying with your laws. We will not be killed any longer. And given the fact that the government is an authoritarian government, the information coming out has been censored or shut down. Hence why I think a lot of women or people aren't fully aware of the gravity of what's going on. And while there are a lot of protests, it is also resulting in a lot of the protesters, specifically women, continuing to be beaten and killed for standing up for this. So again, for me, I so deeply believe that if we are a stand for women's empowerment, our sovereignty, our autonomy, our ability to dictate and decide how we want to live, we have to be a stand for all women. Women and the feminine will not be free until all women and all of the feminine, all expressions of the feminine are free. And so that is kind of the high level spark notes. We're going to dive in deeper.
Okay, so now you guys have the general idea of what's been going on. And again, I just want to reiterate that the part that I find the most shocking is that if I didn't know someone who was closely, who had history in Iran, who had been born there, who has family there currently, I would not know that this was even happening. And this is a huge issue. This goes beyond, again, the national issue of one country and what they're dealing with internally. This is about women everywhere. It's startling to me to know that anywhere in the world, women are still fighting tooth and nail to have simple rights, the simple rights that a man has. And I haven't gotten to this clip yet, but I'm going to play this one next. But basically, I learned that in Iran, a woman's life is literally, not figuratively, literally worth half of a man's life. They've put a financial amount on it, and it's half. Her word is worth half of a man's word in a court of law. A mother does not have the same rights that she has here. A child in a divorce would go to the father automatically. That's scary. So I just find so much of what I've learned through this podcast to be really just startling and shocking, but I want to let you guys hear it straight from Shahrzad's mouth and from Lauren's mouth. And yeah, I'm going to keep popping in and giving you guys my 2 cents. So here, without further ado, again, here is the next clip.
Like, even if you look at the Persian language, the way that women are talked about, there's so much honor. There's just so much respect for them. But this wasn't my experience as a child. This wasn't my mother's experience. I mean, when she was a teenager, the regime changed. And I was talking about this. I was doing a little masterclass for a group of women yesterday. Of, again, the hijab part. It's not like I don't want to wear a scarf. I mean, of course, there is a part of it that I want to be able to choose what I want to wear, but it goes so much deeper than that.
Yeah.
There are some things that I don't think people know. And as I say this, women here, rightfully so, they fight for equal pay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Iran, if a person dies in an accident, if a person dies in an accident, the person who committed the accident, I guess, or killed someone, there needs to be, they have to pay the victim's family a certain amount of money. Like we have here, insurance back there is not insurance, but you just pay the blood money.
Okay.
It's a set amount.
Okay.
A woman's life is half of what is a man's life worth.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we talk about worthiness,
yeah,
don't talk to me about the equal pay. My life is worth half of a man's.
Yeah.
In a court of law, another thing, in a court of law, one woman's witness does not count. There has to be 2. And that counts as one other person, which is a man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your word as a woman counts as half of a man. Your life is worth half of a man. You're not supposed to be seen. That's why we have to cover it up. Yep. Why do we have to cover it up? Because if we don't, then men can be tempted and they may commit a sin.
Mm-hmm. And that's our fault.
That's my fault. That's my fault. I need to not be a temptation.
Mm-hmm.
My hair may tempt a man to commit a sin.
Yeah.
To talk about conditioning of how I am responsible for others, a man's sinning or not sinning.
Yep.
That to begin with. And that it is, my life is also worth half of a man. My word is worth half of a man. I'm not allowed to sing, and no man should hear me singing because that could be tempting. I'm not supposed to show my beauty because that is tempting.
Mhm.
And also, if a couple gets divorced, a man automatically gets the custody of the children. There is no, unless the guy is like a criminal or he's a addict, but otherwise, automatically, the man gets the custody of the children. So we're talking way more than headscarves here. We're talking about women that have been conditioned. And I was talking about this yesterday. Is like when you are born and raised in that country, and that's the law, how many children actually question, hey,
Yeah.
is this even right? Or it's like, well, it must be true. I'm not above the law.
Right.
Like if the law says my worth is half of a man, that must be true.
Right. Right. Why would you question it? You
Why
know,
would-
especially as a child, like, and women, you know, having women have access to this information, but also really like bringing it back into this is not an issue that is happening halfway across the world that has nothing to do with us. This is not about economy. This is not about saying that some specific religion is wrong. This is about the fundamental and inherent worthiness, value, autonomy, and sovereignty of women everywhere.
Okay, so this clip in particularly, I just feel such a heaviness from that for many reasons, but hearing her specifically talk about the conditioning that children are given right from such a young age, knowing that already just because I was born this way, I was born as a woman, I am already less than. And not only am I less than, I am responsible for your bad choices if you do something to me, if you do something impure, if you are tempted in any way, it's my fault. And why I take this so personally is, I mean, you may or may not have seen my other videos, and I've talked about my experiences with domestic violence. And I talk a lot about like healing and emotional healing, healing of trauma wounds, of spiritual journey, and coming out of a toxic place, coming out of a place of codependency, coming out of feeling unworthy, unvaluable, having someone make you question your place in this world, having someone make you question if you're good enough, if you're worthy. And also, I think that even though I wasn't raised in Iran, and most of the females in my life were not, obviously, I know so many women, including myself, that have struggled with feeling like they have to apologize for things, that they have to apologize for things that aren't their fault, that they have to apologize for things that they have nothing to do with. And if we already have that conditioning and we didn't grow up this way, I can't even imagine what it must feel like to have to overcome those beliefs when it's ingrained in you from childhood and you are flat out told that you do not matter as much as a man. I mean, at least here in America, we hear all the time, you know, equality and democracy. And even though, yes, women are still pushing and struggling to get certain rights, I feel like we are so blessed that we have come this far. And that's not to say, well, you're so blessed, why are you complaining? No, not at all. Not at all. We can always struggle and strive and push for more, and we can always continue to keep momentum going, and we should. But I'm just taken aback by how crazy and antiquated all of this is still, all of this in Iran is, and that it's still happening in this current day and age. I don't have the proper words to even begin to verbalize how that makes me feel. And if I don't have that words, I can't imagine what the people that are actually living through this are going through. So okay, I'm going to edit this. And yes, you know, we have seen in current society, certain countries that are oppressed, certain countries that they oppress their people. And the difference is that we usually hear of nationwide oppression. It's not just from one sex to the other. So this is what makes this so different. And not that that's less of a trauma, that is still trauma, that's still something that needs to be overcome. But the fact that on one land, in one country, half of the people are worth less than the other half, just because of their sex. Just starting there. And I guess if we really think about this, we can also take this into thinking about how some minorities feel in different situations and in different countries. There are injustices. And if you can't relate on the male female aspect, relate in that way, relate in the aspect of knowing just because I was born different, I am less than. But how? But why? We were all created by the same creator. How are any of us less than? So let me play another clip for you guys, because this one I think helps bring us into a little bit more of a upswing. Not that there's anything wrong with feeling devastated, with feeling anger, with feeling frustration. You know, I'm all about feeling the feels. But I think that I also have another point that I want to make, and it's going to come from segueing into this next clip. So hang tight.
Then to begin with.
Yeah.
And that your rights are just basically non-existent. They just didn't exist. I mean, not that the Iranian men are not oppressed. There's definitely oppression for everyone. This is a dictatorship. Yeah, this is a dictatorship regime. And I just want to make a note that this by no means is a bashing of Islam or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because this is nothing about what they do is Islamic.
Right.
That's the part of it, that there is nowhere actually in Islam, hijab is not forced. It is a choice.
Yep.
And one of the beautiful things that we are seeing is that women who choose to wear hijab a lot of them are side by side of women without hijab. They're doing the walk. And that gives me a lot of hope and joy to see that they haven't been able to create that between people, that these people are ungodly. They want to just walk naked in the streets, and they want to, they actually had it on the news to say, when they say women, life, freedom, which is the biggest slogan of this movement, the government says what they really, really mean is they're saying women, sluts, prostitution. That's what they actually want. So that rage is coming up right now.
Yep. Let it. Yeah.
But that they want to just get naked. They just want to sleep with anyone and everyone. That's what this is heading to. So I just love seeing that there is women that they choose to wear hijab for their own reasons, and they still really are they are supporting of this, women who are against it. And that's a really, really beautiful thing to see.
Yeah.
Okay. So why I said this is more into a positive upswing is what I think that is so beautiful here is that we are seeing women truly unite and empower each other. And this is something that we can all take a lesson from. And I can't help but think of how many situations growing up that we hear about mean girls, and women want to tear each other down because of jealousy and whatever it is. And here these women are uniting and coming together and saying, even though I choose to live differently than you, I still want your rights for you and for me. I want us both to be empowered and be able to make our own choices. And they're doing it and putting themselves in danger's way to do this. Let's be very realistic. Do you think that it's easy to protest in a country where your life is worth half? Do you think it's easy to protest for a cause where the reason you're protesting is because someone was beaten to death for not listening to the government? Or the morality police? I'm not sure if that's the same thing. I believe it is. And if I'm misspeaking, my apologies. But do you think that that's easy? Do you think that that doesn't instill a tremendous amount of fear? And yet here these women are doing it anyway, because they know that they have to stand together to have this stop. I am so inspired by that. And I want to keep playing the clips because I want to talk more, but I don't want to get ahead of the clips. So let me play another one for you guys. Hang on.
Remember, I was 7 years old. It's such a vivid memory for me. I was 7 years old. I was wearing a dress. You were supposed to start covering your hair when you were 9 years old. You're supposed to cover your arms and legs and your hair after the age of 9, I get, because after 9 years old, you are considered a woman. That's a whole other story of how freakish that is. But I was 7 years old. I was wearing a dress, no hair scarf, and we got stopped. It was me and my mom. We were walking in the streets, and we got stopped by the morale police. And they told my mom she should be covering her hair. And she is like, she is 6. She's 7 or 6. I can't remember exactly. No, she shouldn't. It's like, no, but she still looks, she could be tempting. She could be tempting. And I remember my mom said, the one who gets tempted by a 6, 7-year-old is the one that should go to jail.
Yeah.
And I remember as she said that, how terrified I was of how they could actually, because I knew, from a very early on, I knew that they can say, get in the van, we're going. And I was like, terrified of them taking my mom away.
Of course.
And so as a child, that's another conditioning that starts to happen that is so dangerous to stop, that there is a possibility that if you just don't say, okay, all right, sorry, if that's not the case, that they could take my mom away, they could do something. And I remember, and all my life, for as long as I remember, it's no wonder why I've always been so terrified of speaking up, because of what could happen. Of
course.
And my mom had this and has this, and I love that about her, that she won't back down. She will say it like it is. But for her daughter, I looked at it, instead of being inspired with, my system was like, this is, please mom, please don't, please let's go. And that just blows me away of how, without knowing, because I know must be the truth for every woman in Iran who wants a little bit of a sovereignty, is that they walk with fear. They may put their scarves a little further down than they should be, and they do it, and then they are also knowing that any minute it can be stopped. So you're walking with fear, you're walking with anxiety. You want to express yourself in one way or the other, but there's always that chance that someone out of nowhere, because they're also plainclothes, like they are not normally like a police. It could be anyone or anything. So that memory just brought so much up for me. And I also want to say that if others haven't seen already videos from Iran, there is every other video, it's schoolgirls that are protesting.
Yeah.
And sadly, majority of the deaths are under the age of 25.
Yeah.
There's so many 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, and I am in awe of them. I think, how are you so brave? How is it possible that you're not fearless? Because I know you're afraid, but you're so freaking brave.
Yeah.
That you're able to do this. But something tells me it is because when one woman wakes up another one, and it is a collective thing. It is something that in my era of 80s and 90s, this was not existent. There was no such thing. It was just say yes.
Yeah.
Say yes, even if you hate it, just say yes. Get out of the trouble. Don't get into trouble.
Just stay safe.
Just to stay safe.
Yeah.
But now the narrative has changed, that there's a collective of women, young girls and women, that they're just saying no. No, this is the Gen Z, led by Gen Z, and that
Yep.
blows my mind, and it gives me so much goosebumps, because that that was never the case for us, and I
Yeah.
think it's just so remarkable.
Within us, that fear. And there are so many women who still have to be afraid. You know what I mean? And again, I think that that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast, because I was just like, while on some unconscious level I get scared often of like putting myself out there and what will other things, like I have the privilege and the freedom to be in a position to be fully expressed and to bring light to these issues. And there are women who are literally risking their lives to talk about this. Like, the least I can do, the least that we can do, is also be talking about this, is also be doing everything that we fucking can so that women globally are free and have autonomy and sovereignty over their lives, their bodies, their marriages, their careers, their becoming a mother or not becoming a mother. And, you know, again, really like being in such awe of these young women who know full well what they're doing when they're saying, no, we're not complying. We are burning our hijabs. We are cutting our hair in public. Like, we will show you every act of defiance because this has to stop, and it has to stop now.
Exactly, exactly. You're absolutely right. One of the things that I was working through was that, well, of course, I am. I get to my edge. Yes, see, I have a business now, and I get on the video and all of that stuff. But I had a massive fear of being visible, and it was like, it makes no sense. Nothing
Yeah.
is going to happen to me. But in my own experiences and in my mother's experience and my grandmother, it's that if I am seen, I'm supposed to be blending into the walls. I'm not supposed to have an opinion. My voice is not supposed to be heard. My opinion, if it's not mainstream and approved by the regime, it's not supposed to be expressed. So all that stuff, that nervous system that goes through, of course it is. And it's true that one way or the other, every woman has gone through something like this. And I think we're, a little woo-woo. We're all connected. Yeah. We all feel it. So we all feel what is going on within our women's connection that we have. So I think it is so, so important that we who have the privilege to be the voice of, or amplify their voices. They're screaming. We just need
Exactly.
to get the speakers and let the world hear it more. Because I shared that in my story today, that one of their slogans that they chant is that if we don't become one, they will kill us one by one. That's one of their main slogans. Yeah, I get every time I hear it, or even right now, every part of my body is goosebumps.
Yeah.
That's their main slogan. If we don't become one, they will kill us one by one. And they're calling on each other, but they're also calling on us. It's not just the people of Iran, it is us too. It is for us to share their voices. It is for the governments to take more actions other than just saying we stand by you. There needs to be more. And that's why this interview means the world to me, because I get to pass on the messages and ask for unity, ask for the human race to take a stand and be one with them, because they are so young, they are so full of life, and they have gone through enough. Enough is enough.
Okay, so that clip in particular makes me feel very emotional for many reasons. I think this is the part that really resonated with me. And of course, this is This is a limitless moment. This is an opportunity for me to talk to you guys about now, asking yourself introspective questions, which you know I love to do. So why does this talk to me? Because ooh, I lost my voice listening to that and getting emotional. Some of you may or may not know, if you've been following me for a while, if you've been listening and watching my videos, you know that I started this channel as an opportunity and a way to regain my voice from abuse that I had undergone. I am no stranger to knowing what it feels like to go through a trauma and feel like your voice has been ripped away and feel like you have to silence yourself and feel like people are just going to cut you off. And this is just so powerful because she's right. We have the freedom to do it. We have the freedom to do it scared, even though it is scary, even though speaking up and speaking your truth and letting your voice be heard and even letting yourself be seen, which is like the primary of this, of them showing their hair and cutting it off and letting themselves be seen for who they are. Like, it's scary, but it's powerful. And it's so important to not let the fear stop you, especially if you are blessed enough to live in a country where you have the rights. So this is my call to you. And this is the perspective shift where I want you to think about what in your life have you been scared to do? And what is it that you're on the fence about, that you're scared about what someone might think of you? You're scared about sounding silly. You're scared about not looking right. You're scared about whatever it is that you're scared of. But I want you to acknowledge and remember that you have the rights to have your voice and that it's so important that you use it, because if you don't use it, then it's just as bad as living in oppression, but you're putting yourself in oppression. You're putting yourself in this box. Why would you do that? You are lucky enough to have the option of having your voice heard, of having yourself seen. Why would you put yourself in a box? Why would you oppress yourself? Why would you take away that option? And I'm not judging by any means, because this is something that I still struggle with myself. This is something that there are certain topics that I want to talk about all the time. And I have to second guess and say, yes, but how will that be received? And yes, I have to be careful of how I say it. And it's just crazy that these young women are so brave and they're doing it. And they recognize that they don't have a choice, that they have to do it. If they want to ever have any kind of freedom, any kind of real life, they have to do it. So why would you let yourself be held back by yourself? Don't hold yourself back. Don't silence your voice. Speak up. Speak up about whatever it is that you need to speak up about. And always speak up in a respectful way, in a way that there's love in the background, in a way that there is a foundation of love and respect. But never be scared to be assertive. Never be scared to stand up for yourself. And again, I know that's easier said than done, but when you feel that fear creep in, remember, you have the rights. Not everybody does. Take that and believe in yourself. Take that and be your number one cheerleader. Take that and push yourself to do all the things that you dreamed of in this life, because we only get one. We're only here for borrowed time. Don't let your life be silenced by circumstances, limiting beliefs, toxic people, abuse. Do not let that cut your life short. Do not let that clip your wings. And for anyone who does have any type of a platform, I encourage you, and even if you don't have a platform, every single person has access to go live on Instagram, on Facebook, to post a video anywhere, TikTok. I don't know what the kids are doing these days, but whatever it is, get on it and talk about the fact that this is going on. Help these women make their voices louder. Be their amplifier, be their microphone. Talk about it. Because look, how many people didn't even know that this was happening, like me. I had no idea that this was happening. We need to talk about it. This isn't okay. All right. So again, I'm going to put the link down below. Please be sure. I only shared with you some important clips that I really wanted you to hear, but the interview in its entirety is just so powerful. And I think that it's just really, really good information for you. She also, if you go to the podcast website, you will see she has some recommendations for Instagram accounts to follow that do talk about this. And I'm also going to try to link them below for you guys. But yeah, that's it for today. I just want to encourage you and inspire you and implore you to empower yourself. And by doing so, empowering your sister next to you. Because every time we heal generations forward and back. So stand tall, be proud of yourself, be brave, even when it's scary. Do it scared. This is the Limitless Babe signing out, saying stay limitless. I love you guys. Bye. Oh.